Hi everyone, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface. I gotta crack on, folks. Got a really busy day today. I thought I needed to do 2 videos. I want to get 3 videos done, but I have to leave the house this evening. I'm off somewhere. So I want to see if I can get them done for then and get some stuff ready and do some other things. So I'm really pushed for time. So with that said, let's just crack on with what we need to waffle on about today. So, as some of you may know, I didn't go watch Rise of Skywalker at the cinema because, not because I was trying to be purposely boycotty to Star Wars or anything like that. To be honest with you, I'd love nothing more than to want to go and watch Star Wars at the cinema. I thought The Mandalorian was fantastic and I really, really enjoyed it. A lot of fun. It was more equals less, you know, simple stories told well. But when it came to this sequel trilogy, I enjoyed Force Awakens, but The Last Jedi I thought was abysmal. Absolutely abysmal. And it drove me off. It drove me off because it didn't advance the characters for me. It didn't advance the plot for me. In actual fact, it killed the plot at many opportunities. And because they didn't have a plan, in effect, for this trilogy, it just became so ridiculously messy. And I had other issues with Luke and such. So, the reason why I didn't go to the cinema is, why would I spend my money to see a film where I don't care about the characters? Just because it's Star Wars? No, that's what sheep do. Sheep just go along, oh, it's Star Wars, ergo I will give money. No, that's what allows companies like Disney to get away with shit. To get away with pumping out garbage. Because they just think you are a brainless moron that will consume. And the only way that you can truly speak to these companies is with your wallet. Well, that definitely seems to be the case with Rise of Skywalker, because the last time I discussed this, I was having a shufty look at the box office, and it was just on the verge of going over $1 billion. I didn't think it would have a problem going over $1 billion. However, I did think it might struggle to get to where The Last Jedi was. As you can probably gather from the title and the thumbnail of the video, it kind of gets a little bit worse than that. Quite a lot worse when we go into it. So, although I didn't go see Rise of Skywalker at the cinema, I'd heard some horrendous things about the actual film itself, in terms of what the story was, some of the plot lines, and all that. And it just sounded too bad to be true. So I watched a deep dive on YouTube. I think it was by a chap called Mauler, M-A-U-L-E-R. If I've got that incorrect, I do apologise. And it was approximately 2 hours long, the video. Maybe just slightly over 2 hours long. And I watched it all. And I gotta say, by the end of that video, I was in tears of laughter. I'm so glad I didn't waste my money on this film. So I am going to bring in some spoiler elements to this video. If you don't want to hear them, switch the video off now. But I'm kind of gathering that if you haven't seen Rise of Skywalker now, then you're a bit like me. You didn't give a shit in the first place. So the biggest thing for me, which just made me cream my pants laughing, was not all the MacGuffin stuff. I mean, JJ had to desperately try to weave together some sort of plot for his film, because Rian Johnson had killed off all the plots in the last movie. So he had to try and set something up for the end. I mean, it was absolutely abysmal by the sounds of it. But the thing that just got me, and when I say got me, just made me realise what an absolute bunch of morons are running the show. Oh, and by the way, Catherine Kennedy is staying because you fail upwards in Hollywood. That's what you do. You fail upwards. Was the starships? Was the starships not being able to leave the planet because they didn't know the way up? They needed navigating out. Starships which had gone up through some crust or other, just because they wanted an aesthetic by the looks of it, upwards, and then stopped. Why didn't you just keep going? So when you're dealing with that level of idiocy, I would have said a word that sounded like batardedness, but, you know, we can't anymore. then to me, it's just like, no, you don't deserve a penny. You don't deserve a single solitary penny from me. But that's what we were dealing with. So before we go into anything else, I thought I would do a little bit of research for this video. So I went out around my local area, not specifically to toy shops, but to shops which sold multiple things, including toys. So it could range from supermarkets, which have like a toy section, through to catalogue places and such and so forth. And I went in search of some Rise of Skywalker merchandise. Okay? So, bearing in mind, I didn't spend a penny on The Last Jedi, but I bought a shit ton of Force Awakens merch in terms of toys, models, stuff like that, all boxed away in my cupboard because, you know, man-child. I'd like to show you everything that I bought for Rise of Skywalker that was in these shops. Nothing. There was nothing in them. Nothing. The only thing that I found was in a local supermarket, and there were some 12-inch ladies. 12-inch hard plastic, really tacky looking block figures. I think there was a Finn and there was a red stormtrooper. And that was it. And I looked for, I mean, when I say I'm looking for toys, I'm looking for the figures, I'm looking for model sets. Nothing at all. I did find some, like, generic Star Wars stuff. You know, a bit of Luke Skywalker from this, or Rey from The Force Awakens, or things like that. But specific to Rise of Skywalker, nothing. Now, we know that the Last Jedi toys didn't sell. They didn't sell at all. They were literally trying to throw them out by the time the film was in a state of flux, shall we say. And so does it surprise me? No, not one bit. But let's get into some facts and figures now, because the toys aren't going to get us anywhere. 2015 was this now? 2015, I think it was. The Force Awakens. There we go, yeah. 2.068 billion at the worldwide box office. 936 million domestic and 1.131 million international. You can see the dividend split, 45-55, let's just say, for argument's sake. Last Jedi, significant decrease. 700 odd million, plus an increased budget as well. 245 million budget, 317 million budget. So even the budget is higher, probably the marketing and advertising would be higher as well. So this got 1.332 billion worldwide. 700 plus million off The Force Awakens, but we know this. But we're now at a point where essentially The Rise of Skywalker is going to be leaving. When I say going to be leaving the cinemas soon, people aren't going to particularly see that. They're off to see other films now. And just maybe they might cast in it and get a few people to come and watch the film. The Joker, for instance, which we'll look at, because I used this as an example from last time, so I think it's only fair that we use it as an example from this time. The Joker, by the way, that did not open in China, because it didn't meet the film criteria for that place. It's still running in cinemas, even though you can purchase it digitally right now. And I believe it's out physically on Blu-ray in the States, and it comes out physically on Blu-ray 4K for us here in Europe on the 10th of February. So, you know, you can still cast in it. It's still at the cinemas technically. 1.071 billion without a Chinese release. Rise of Skywalker, which isn't going to do too much more cinema business, folks. So this is near enough it. $1.047 billion. It's not even past the Joker. Sure, the Joker's been out for 16 weeks, Rise of Skywalker 5 weeks. But 5 weeks, it's pretty much done. They're not bringing in huge amounts at all. You know, you got 1.7 million now, and I know I would love to have 1.7 million myself, but when you're adding 1.7 million to this, we're literally ticking seconds on a clock that wants to be working in hours. So it's not going to get too much higher. So it will stay at cinemas for a while, but we're going to get information, when I say relatively soon, let's say in a couple of months' time, about when it's going to hit Blu-ray, when it's going to hit digital market, when it's going to hit 4K. And this film has not performed at all based off the franchise. Look, $1 billion is nothing to be sniffed at in reality. We all know this. When you add the budget of the film and the marketing together, you're probably looking at around about 500 million. So the film's probably made 500-ish million profit. But that's definitely not what they were looking for, particularly when the first movie is smashing what? At least 1.5 billion profit, most likely. So you're going from that down to 500, down to a third, when you really should be ending the trilogy off on a massive high note. And this is pretty much it now. That's what it's going to do. And it's almost a 50-50 split between domestic and international, which means it's massively underperformed internationally and had a China release where it didn't do great, but it had that Chinese release as well, which the Joker, of course, didn't. Hey, SNL. White male rage, hey? Oh, whatever. Wasn't that woman meant to be Mexican? Fucking pastier than I am. Anywho, so yes, tis from the perspective of Disney, this has been a massive failure, and they need to regroup. How they regroup? Do they look at the success of The Mandalorian and how The Mandalorian is put together? Do they look at less is more? We know, unfortunately, that the Kenobi series is up in arms at the moment and might not now happen. And to be honest with you, that was one thing I was genuinely looking forward to. For as much as I don't particularly like the prequels, I should say, do beg your pardon, there are elements of the prequels which I do like. Not huge amounts, definitely not the story that much, but I think most of us can say that Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan was actually pretty cool. He's a pretty cool character that we would have liked to see more of. So with better writing and support, particularly if we're under the guidance of Jon Favreau, for instance, and if Jon Favreau is allowed autonomy and is not being pushed by dickwad Kathleen Kennedy, who couldn't... Oh, we don't have any source material to draw upon. Fuck off! Then it could have been a very, very good series, but right for now, I don't know. Probably looking to stick... I can't say that, I get into trouble. Right. So things aren't looking great for Star Wars right now. Is it time to just let The Mandalorian tick away and maybe put everything else just on hold for the time being? Of course they won't. It's Disney. They want money. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social media and Twitch for live streaming. Links are in the description box down below. Now I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. Very, very soon. You take care. Bye for now.